30,000 years ago, the world was a canvas of shadows and fear. Here, around a struggling fire, our ancestors huddled together. Their world was small, lit only by the flickering flames that held the vast, hungry darkness at bay. And in that darkness, eyes watched. The eyes of wolves, ancient predators, drawn by the scent of the hunt, circling, waiting. For the humans, they were the enemy, a rival for survival in a brutal world, a threat to be driven back with fire and spear. Among the pack, a smaller shadow lingered, a young pup, driven not just by hunger, but by something more. Curiosity. It watched the strange, two-legged creatures, their flickering light a beacon in the endless night. How could this creature of the wild, this symbol of the untamed, ever become man's most loyal companion? The journey from foe to friend is one of the greatest stories ever told. A story of a single, pivotal choice that would forever change the destiny of two species. It begins not with a battle, but with a flicker of understanding in the heart of a frozen wilderness. The cold was relentless, a physical presence that seeped into the bones. For the young wolf pup, separated from its pack, survival was a minute-by-minute struggle. Hunger gnawed at its belly, a constant, dull ache. But then, a new scent drifted on the wind, something other than pine and ice. It was the smell of smoke, and something else. Cooked meat! Drawn by an instinct older than fear, the pup followed the plume of smoke that painted a gray streak against the twilight sky. It led to the human camp, a place of danger, a place forbidden. Hidden in the tree line, the pup watched. The fire was a mesmerizing dance of orange and red, a source of warmth it could only dream of. A human child, small and fearless, noticed the watcher in the shadows. Without a word, the child tossed a scrap of charred meat into the snow-covered ground between them. The pup flinched. Its every instinct screamed trap. The humans were danger, but the scent of the food was intoxicating. A promise of a full belly against the brutal cold. Hesitantly, it took a step forward, then another. This was the first offering, a simple gesture of sharing that bridged an impossible gap. A single piece of meat, a single act of kindness, planting the first seed of a bond that would grow to reshape the world. That first offering was a turning point. Night after night, drawn by a memory of warmth and a full belly, the pup returned. The fear was still there, a knot in its stomach, but the pull of the fire was stronger. At first, it kept its distance, a ghostly shape at the edge of the light. The humans, too, were cautious. They watched the pup as it watched them, but the child, with an innocence that saw a creature in need rather than a threat, would leave another scrap. Each night, the distance shrank. The pup would creep a little closer, its belly low to the ground, until it could feel the heat of the flames on its fur. The human hands that offered the food no longer seemed like a weapon. The scent of the human was no longer just the scent of a rival, but something familiar, something associated with relief from the gnawing hunger. One evening, the child reached out, hand open and empty. The pup, after a long moment of hesitation, took a final step and nudged the offered palm with its wet nose. In that quiet touch, a silent pact was formed. A fragile trust was born in the shared light of a prehistoric fire. An alliance built not on dominance, but on a mutual vulnerability. The eyes of the wolf and the eyes of the human met across the firelight, and for the first time, they saw not an enemy, but the beginning of a friend. The nights at the camp had settled into a rhythm of cautious trust. The pup, no longer a specter in the woods, but a familiar presence, rested near the fire's edge. But the ancient world was never truly safe. One night, the fragile peace was shattered. A sound, deep and guttural, ripped through the quiet, dark sound that made the wolves howl and the humans grab their spears. From the shadows, a massive shape lunged forth, a beast of nightmare, perhaps a cave bear or a saber-tooth, drawn to the scent of the camp. Panic erupted. Humans shouted, flames scattered, and chaos reigned. The beast was a whirlwind of claws and fury, a force of nature that threatened to extinguish the small flame of humanity. In that moment of terror, the pup faced a choice. It could flee back into the safety of the dark woods, back to the wild it knew, but it didn't. As the creature lunged towards the human child, The very one who had offered the first scrap of food. Something shifted inside the young wolf. A new instinct, fierce and protective, roared to life. With a snarl that was far bigger than its small body, the pup launched itself into the fray. It nipped and harried at the massive beast's heels, a small but ferocious distraction. It fought alongside the humans, a united front against a common enemy. It was no longer just a scavenger. In the heat of that first fight, side by side, it had become a guardian, a partner. The transformation had begun. That single act of bravery, that shared battle for survival, sealed the pact forever. The pup was no longer an outsider. It was part of the pack, the human pack. This was the dawn of domestication, a process that would unfold over thousands of years, painting a new story across the canvas of history. As centuries turned into millennia, the descendants of that first wolf walked alongside humanity. They became shadows at our heels on the hunt, their keen senses an extension of our own, helping to track prey and warn of danger. When humans built the first villages, these proto-dogs stood guard, their barks a living alarm system against the dangers of the night. We gave them food and shelter from the cold. They gave us their loyalty and protection. Pups were born no longer in wild dens, but by the warmth of human hearths. Their first sight, not a forest, but the face of a human child. They played with our children, forging bonds of affection that ran deeper than mere utility. Over countless generations, their very form began to change. Snouts shortened, ears flopped, tails learned to wag with an expressive joy. The wild, calculating gaze of the wolf softened into the loving, devoted eyes of the dog. From a fierce predator to a working partner, from a loyal friend to a cherished member of the family, the wolf had been reborn by our side. The journey spans 30,000 years, yet it culminates in moments we see every day. It's in the quiet companionship of a morning walk, the joyful greeting at the door, the comforting weight of a head on a lap. We see it in the golden light of dawn, as a child walks through the misty fields, their faithful companion trotting loyally by their side. That companion carries the spirit of the ancient wolf, but its heart beats in rhythm with ours. Look closely into its eyes. In their depths, you can see the entire story. You can see the flicker of the prehistoric fire, the courage of that first fight, and the unwavering trust forged over millennia. The ghost of the wolf is still there, a reminder of the wild pact we made, but it has been transformed into the soulful gaze of the dogman's first and best friend. This wasn't a conquest, it was an alliance, a story of two species who found in each other not just a means of survival, but a bond that would redefine what it means to be family. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you were captivated by the story of how our oldest friendship began, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more legends and origins, and get ready, because next time, we're exploring a very different kind of domestication. Asking the question, how did cats choose chaos?